Well, we had a bit of a sandstorm, a dust storm the other night. Today it was back to that old cliche of a gale storm. But just like the sandstorm the other night, it came and it went just as quickly. Otherwise, we could have a much more imposing total put on by Punjab. As it was, their own other Superman in KL Rahul, who loves batting against this particular opposition. 3 matches in a row he's batted through and finished with 91 of 57 deliveries. As I said, if that gale storm had lasted any longer, we were looking at possibly 220. 179 for 5 looks a good score, but it doesn't quite look the imposing score. We'll discuss all that and much more on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle. Got Sean Pollock and Pommy Mbangwa in the house. I was just making an assumption, Pommy, about what my view of that total was. How do you see 179 in the light of the way they started?
I think a couple of things. I mean, the first thing is that I think it's just it looks a par total. It doesn't look like a total that's imposing. So I agree with you on that front. I think also they'll sit there, and because of the way the innings progressed and came to a halt, lost wickets in the middle, and then kicked on again as you'd expect at the back of an innings, they'll sit there and think they were 20, I would even say sort of 25 runs short, just on assessing how it went. I think, and you can't say by restructuring you can guarantee what things will happen, but you've got to say it's not a great decision to not have Chris Gayle face more deliveries in the power play. You get him in the power play, and in the mood he was in today, get him to face more with fielders in the circle, and he's going to clear the boundary ropes and those fielders for fun. If he can have that opportunity, I think then you are allowing your side to have more of a chance of putting an imposing total on the board. You said Gale Storm. Tell you what, that was a mini one from Chris Gayle today. When he does have a night, we know he can just blow a side away, and you've got to allow for that opportunity, especially when you now don't have Mayank Agarwal. So now the issue isn't a case of, oh, we don't want to break up a winning combination up at the top. They've got such a good rapport. He's not there, And this guy, for fun, for many years, has opened the batting and destroyed opposition bowling. So, yeah, missed the trick, I think, the Punjab Kings there.
Yeah, that's a strange one. When we saw the batsman walk in and when we were having our pre-match show, Sean, we said, okay, guys, let's not talk too much about Mayank Agarwal. He's had that little injury. It's not improved. So it's a no-brainer. Chris Gayle, KL Rahul open. They didn't do it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise when we got to start watching things, and I don't think it really paid off. It was a bit of a silly move in the end, considering how well Gayle went in those first 4 overs that he was at the crease in the power play. You did also get a feeling that the nature of where Punjab are at mentally, in the approach that the Gayle of the past would just carry on going. He wouldn't stop. He wouldn't think, well, let me just pause for a second. Yeah, we don't want to lose any more wickets. And I think that's just a little bit where Punjab are with their batting lineup. Not that confident in what's still to come. They did have a nice kick on at the back end, but Nicholas Pooran, I reckon Nicholas Pooran, first of all, let's have a look at those breakdowns. So the 29 for 4, I think that's where they lost their way. It was great from 7 overs to 10, striking at over 10s and a really good finish. But if they do lose this match, they've got a decent score and they'll have to defend well. But if they do lose the match, it was 11 to 15 for me where they did the damage. Anyway, Nicholas Pooran, I reckon the guys have already started bidding for him next season because he's going to be the next Maxwell. He's going to do nothing. He's going to go for a fortune, and he's going to come back and absolutely whack it next year. There's something about batting at number 4 for Punjab which just can't be done by an international batter. But the next season they can. So I reckon they're already starting the bidding for him.
Every time Punjab have come up with a game since he had that 0 of 0, which was of course unfortunate, that second bowler that went straight to hand, he's had a progression of his own. If you have a look at this, he had that he started with the first bowler against Rajasthan, then came a second ball, then naught of naught, which was the unfortunate one, and then tonight. So he's had 1, 0, 1, 2 and 3, and just that one double figure total against Kolkata. But
we'll have to check if he's hit a 6 yet, because remember Maxwell didn't get one last year.
Yeah, that
So we'll have
19
to
of
see
19, I
that.
suspect may have had a six because that's the way he plays. I think there was 1 6 in that, but otherwise, yeah,
Okay.
it's a perfect parallel to Glenn Maxwell. No sixes, power player, looks invincible when he's in his home country, but what happens when he comes here? But at the moment, it's unfortunate for Puran. We'll talk about it later when Punjab come next time around because they've got some big games coming up. In terms of the bowling, I mean, they haven't conceded that many, but that Harshal Patel seemed to be a formula, Pommy, that was working for them early on when they were getting some wickets. But two games. One was the Harbhajan Singh assault. The Ravindra Jadeja assault. Why did I think of Harbhajan Singh? I have no idea. Ravindra Jadeja assault in the Chennai game. And today he went for over 50 once again. So is there a concern there?
Yeah, 100%. It happens once. You say a guy can travel, and that's fair enough. But it happens again, and it kind of becomes a bit of a trend. And the reason I think is because of how he bowls, Harshal Patel. At the back end, he likes to bowl those slower balls. He's not of great pace, and what he's got to do, I mean, what he does well is hit the areas when he tries. So if he bowls on a good day, he'll hit the Yorkers, he'll choose correctly. Today, I didn't think the fields were right. He'd have mid-off up and he'd bowl a sort of try and go for a Yorker outside off. And then if it doesn't get in there, it's just a free hit over mid-off. And also trying to go for the Yorkers, short boundary on the one side, miss, and you're on the stumps, you're right in the arc, and Harpreet Brar able to whack it out the ground. It's a tough one. What can happen also is that once you get taken down, you get nervous in the situation again. So your skipper is saying, I trust you and I want you to get back on the horse and to sort it out and we can get back to normal. But it's not that simple because now here we go an over of 37 and an over of 22, I think it is, in a couple of games following each other. I don't know if you want the ball. You'll say you do, but it's a tough job there. It's too tough. And they've got to figure out a way of finding someone else to do that.
They say at those times, sometimes you're cock a hoop, the other times you're the feather duster. Who was the feather duster today?
Well, we've got some interesting numbers, Sean, to have a look at this pattern of Harshal Patel bowling the 20th over of in innings. Have a look at that. We've had a total of 59 runs in the last two games. But otherwise, if you have a look against Mumbai, 3 for 1, 1 for 9, 1 for 3, 2 for 7. That was his record. And that was 7 for 20 in the 20th over in his first 4 games. None for 59 in the 20th over in his last 2 games. How about that, Sean?
Yeah, I think Chennai was the perfect place for him, and he could mix things up nicely, and his cutters hold up. And at the end of the day, because the wickets were falling so regular, it was often the guys at the back end, down the order who had to face him. So there's a lot of contributing factors. I think he's just getting the last 2 games. He hasn't been as clear in his thought process. I mean, particularly that Jadeja one. It was just slot, full toss slot. There wasn't really much good thinking to that process. There was no slow ball bumper. There was no really wide Yorker. There was no trying to follow the boots or the heels. And I think that's where sometimes, even though you've been successful, what can happen in those situations is as a coaching staff, you think, it's just one bad game. We'll just let it ride. We won't say too much about it. But I think it's worthwhile just sitting down and say, listen, we're going to continue to back you. And you've done great in most of the tournament so far. But let's just try and maybe get you thinking a little bit clearer about the personnel, the boundary sizes, where you want them to hit you, what's the best option, and just to reiterate the plans that he can use, and just that might give him a little boost of confidence again.
And it might be a good idea as well, and I don't know if you agree with this, Sean, but instead of being over number 20, be over number 19, just swap it around, and it's not that he's doing any different a job. Him and Siraj are the ones who bowl at the back end. But if you're being taken down in over number 20 and it's now game 2 in a row, yes, they back him, but just look after the guy just a little bit and have all those conversations and everything. But over number 19, maybe you get wickets, maybe you won't, maybe he goes for 5, maybe he goes for 10, maybe he still gets taken down. but just try and, work it so that it's not a guy, in the spotlight all the time and kind of being the one who's going to bear the brunt when the guys are backs against the wall. They have to swing, and it's you every time. So share it around just a little bit.
Could be a solution. Let's finish off with the man of the moment, KL Rahul. You talk about liking an opposition. He is, of course, a Bangalore boy, but when it comes to playing against this side, Sean, have a look at this. 24th September 2020, 15th October 2020, and 30th April 2021. 60 overs, not out, not out, not out. Dubai, Sharjah, Ahmedabad. That's sensational.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I mean, the amount of runs that he's accumulated there, 132, 61, 91. I mean, that's enough just to speak about. The fact that he hasn't been dismissed, sure, it really is sensational. To think that, amazing how he only faced 59 balls. 49 balls in the one game and then 69 in the other. But, I mean, he's been brilliant. I mean, he's really absorbed a lot of pressure today. Up front, he had to absorb. He played some nice shots. And in the middle period, he had to be the one who stuck around through that difficult time for them from overs 10 to 15. And then the way he executed at the back end, which was nice to see, the way he adapted, got down, played some paddles, didn't make it easy for those guys at the death just to target a certain delivery. And 91 not out. So he's given his team a real fighting chance. He's led from the front again in the absence of Mayank. You can't give him enough credit.
Yeah, with all that we talked about, a little bit of a mini storm from Gale, a good finish in that 20th over, 22 of it from Harshal Patel and KL Rahul getting the 91. The big question is, with all that, they came to a sort of par-ish total is what we feel. Now, how will RCB approach this? Because I don't think they would have minded this total at the start of the innings. It's just that when they got going, they would have liked 200, Pommy.
When Punjab would have liked 200, that's for sure. I think at the end, it kind of takes the gloss of what they did in their comeback, the RCB side. And so hopefully it's not dented the thoughts and thought processes of those who have to go in and bat. But I believe they're a confident side. They've been winning, and right in that power play, they've gone at the opposition. I think they'll do that again and let, the rest of the order get unlocked. Even if they go down here, it won't be for lack of confidence. It won't be for lack of playing shots. I think they'll just play like a side that's, got players in form.
Sean, I'll give you the last word. 177 was your prediction. They got 179, spot on, very close to it. Do you see this as a win for, I wasn't going to say the men in red, the men in one quarter of a shade different red?
I think it'd be a win for the guys in the RCB outfit either way. But I just think it's a good surface. You always tend to judge it by how people come in. And Chris, when he walked in straight away, he could find his timing. At the back end there, the guys who came to the crease managed to get it away. And it didn't look like anything was holding up. There was no real turn. So it doesn't look like a difficult surface. And we've always said that we don't believe the strength of the Punjab side is their bowling unit. So I'd be a little bit surprised if RCB didn't get over the line this time around. But there might be a little bit of talk on the field about, remember what happened when they were bowled out for about 100 odd at Mumbai just the other day. Let's have one of those innings just to try and put that little bit of doubt. But I think they should be too strong.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It should be a great contest. It's a decent total. Whether you call it par or whatever reference you make to it, it is a decent competitive total on the board, and it will take a decent run chase. They've got the extra pace of Riley Meredith. He's been handed the first over. We're going to be back in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox to get a sense of how well this chase is going, and we'll see you all at the end. This is Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.